There's something very strange happening in the underbelly of the Star Wars fandom. There are new Jedi Pax's Star Wars leaks clarifying the possible changes from the reshoots, and yet the internet seems not to care. Now, the Reddit post that explains these new leaks has over 1,000 comments and not a single upvote. The people of the internet have turned on Jedi Paxis and the new Star Wars leaks in general. Well, we're going to talk about these new leaks, but I also want to talk about what to me is even more interesting here, and this is the tale of these new Star Wars leaks and how the Star Wars fandom revolted against them. We do it for the fans. Today's shout out goes to Brandon R. Indeed, Freddie Prinze Jr. was the Star Wars voice actor that recently had a pretty epic rant. Make sure you stay to the end of this video where we will ask another nerd card question. What's up, everybody? Happy Star Wars Sunday to you. I am Josh, and first and foremost, I must apologize. The scheduled stream with myself and Jason Ward is being pushed back to tomorrow. That's Monday the 14th. I think we're gonna go at like 7 p.m. now, but either way, if you are watching this video before Monday the 14th, make sure you come back for that very special live stream, and I do apologize that we had to move it. Just things come up. Okay, so let's get into the leaks and this whole situation here, and I want to say, I'm gonna save the actual leaks and the potential spoilers for the end of the video, so if you're like staying away from leaks, no worries. I think you'll still find this enjoyable as I kind of explain what I think is going on with these new leaks in the Star Wars fandom, and then we'll get into the spoilers at the end. Okay, so first of all, I just want to say, like, it's so interesting to me how different people's opinions and just the perceptions of people can be out there. Like, when I was checking out these leaks from Jedi Pax's, I thought they sounded cool, but apparently I'm one of the only people that really enjoyed the leaks, and there are a lot of different kinds of Star Wars fans out there, and a lot of these different groups did not like what they saw in these leaks. Like, for me, when I do videos and I look at the comment section here, it's really hard for me to see, like, okay, who's trolling, who's just being a hater, or who's legitimate and they actually just don't like the leaks at all. But if you look at a wider scope here, take a look at Twitter, you take a look at Reddit, it's pretty apparent. I think the majority of people are actually not super down on these leaks. And now, as I start to get into why I think this happened, I have to start with the Jedi Paxis leaks themselves. Months and months ago now at this point, when Paxis put out that very detailed leak out of all these different beats that would happen in the Rise of Skywalker. Now, normally, leakers out there, the people that are the scoop masters and the people that leak these sort of things, they will wait to get things verified by a lot of different sources like Fanthatrax and Jason Ward. They will normally not post a whole bunch of stuff all at once. They're piecing stuff out. They're trying to get stuff confirmed, placing stuff together in their mind with the other stuff they've heard from sources, and then they release stuff at what is a much slower schedule. Like, frankly, people like this get like emails and scoops and leaks all the time. In fact, even we here at this channel get these leaks all the time. Like, you should see some of the emails we get from people that are like, hey, I work at Lucasfilm, I've seen the movie, here's this, that, and the other thing. And they're usually like pretty wild and ridiculous, but I assume this happens a lot to Jason and Fanthatrax as well. So they usually wait to get things clarified, and the release of leaked information happens at a much slower pace. And I think that because people are absorbing all sorts of content these days, normally, like leading up to The Last Jedi, for instance, there were things that were leaked out there by Fanthatrax and by Jason Ward, and we don't get this influx of all this information right away, and it gets sort of, you know, forgotten or maybe blended with some other rumors and stuff like that. And so we walk into that movie without a very clear picture put together from all the leaks, even though a lot of that stuff does get leaked. But the original Paxis leak was so bold and so detailed and so early in this process that it basically made other leakers like Fanthatrax and Jason Ward come forward with more evidence than they normally would have otherwise. Like, I even saw Fanthatrax post stuff that they can corroborate from the Paxis leak, and they literally said in their post, since Paxis leak is out there now, I feel more comfortable sharing some of these things that I've heard. And there's a similar situation going on with Jason. So essentially what happens is you get this huge influx of all this leaked information, and because these guys, Fanthatrax and Jason Ward, corroborate that leak, it just blows up because there's a lot of people, including myself, who consider them to be pretty good sources. They get stuff right more than they get stuff wrong, and so these leaks get put out there to a ton of different people. You know, this channel played a major role. If you look at the videos we've done talking about the leaks, it's well into the hundreds of thousands of views of people checking that stuff out. So it gets passed around the internet, And I think that this is just sort of a slap of leakage that Star Wars fans are not accustomed to having because, as I said before, it usually gets sort of piecemealed out as they verify things. And I think that's really the crux of this conflict. It was the fact that this all happened so fast, it was so whirlwindy, it hit the internet in such detail with all these different things and then got passed around because Jason Ward and Fantha Tracks said that, yeah, they can corroborate at least parts of it. Now, I want to stop here and talk about leak culture for a second because there's this concept of like early adapting and late comers into any trend out there. And this is just any trend at all in any sector, right? But when it comes to leaks specifically, I feel like this is something that is becoming a thing in the consciousness of people now. And I can tell you personally, like where it all started for me. It actually goes back to Game of Thrones season 7, not season 8, but season 7. And a lot of you that are in the leak community out there will already know this, but there was a detailed plot leak for season 7 that came out in the October the year before that show ever hit air. And unfortunately, that plot leak was like 99% correct, and I had season 7 pretty much completely ruined for me because I knew everything that was going to happen. And then also, I'll never forget going into Avengers Infinity War, and the channel was much smaller back then, and I was doing a video with James Razile from the Rebel Scum podcast, who at the time was starting sort of his digital charcuterie channel, and we were talking about Marvel. And James Razile told me that he was hearing, or that he found leaked information online, that Gamora was going to be sacrificed to get the Soul Stone there because Thanos loved her and that the Red Skull was going to be involved. And I completely dismissed that information. I was like, there's no way. Then I saw Infinity War and I was like, yo, how the frick did James know that?
Is it possible to learn this power?
And then I started digging deeper into like the Marvel spoilers subreddit, into the Star Wars leaks subreddit, and I got really into the leak culture and like figured out that, yeah, this stuff does get leaked out there. It's a real thing. And I think the internet's starting to slowly come around to this too. They're understanding that, yeah, there are leaks out there. There were people that got stuff right for The Last Jedi. There were people that got stuff right for Endgame and Infinity War. These big movies and big productions do get their plots and different pieces of their film leaked out there into the public. Like, it's a real thing. And I think people are starting to realize that, maybe like late adapters are starting to realize that in troves. And so basically these three things all are happening at once that created the perfect storm, which is now the revolt of the Star Wars fan base towards these leakers. Number one, it's that leaking is becoming a thing. People are maybe realizing more and more each day that leaks are real and that the potential leaks for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker could be real as well. Number two, the Pax's leaks came out and changed the entire game, allowed all that information to flow out way faster than it normally would have, and gave all of these people a complete look at leaks in a fandom that was not used to that. And number three, of course, it's just the state of the Star Wars fan base. It's, well, I mean, tense and emotional. I think that's the best way I can say it. It's just a tense situation right now with a ton of different in-groups within the fandom that feel differently about different aspects of the sequel trilogy. And so when you put all of those things together, it creates this perfect storm of craziness. And I've literally never seen this before. Like, people are turning on these leakers like you wouldn't believe. Like, Pax's updates us, and the thing has over 1,000 comments with not a single upvote. It's getting downvoted into oblivion. People are over these leaks and they really don't like the leakers. And here's the thing, I gotta be real. I'm just one guy and I'm just sort of postulating and looking at all the information that I have out there. But I've got a feeling that after this film comes out, a lot of people are gonna sort of owe an apology to those leakers. And we're also gonna have to reinvestigate as a fan base just how we wanna handle leaks moving forward, because I personally believe that a lot of these leaks are real. Now, Jedi Paxis is the wild card because we have no idea who this person is. They don't have a track record to speak of. And the only thing that was truly corroborated by Jason Ward and Fantha Tracks was the original leaks before the reshooting. So it's going to be so interesting to see where we're at after the film comes out. But I'm telling you guys, like, my gut tells me a lot of this stuff is real. The Palpatine Rey thing, that's real. Exegol, that's real. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to know going into Star Wars Episode 9. And if it does happen, I mean, obviously the leakers will be vindicated. But, I mean, I just feel like as a community, maybe we should be a little nicer to them. And, of course, that's a lot of conjecture. And it's all based on my personal opinion. So, you know, take that for what you will. But isn't that that kind of the reason you watch this channel? Okay, now let's get into spoiler time itself. Get on out if you don't want anything spoiled, because as I said and as I continue to say, I do buy into these leaks. So if you don't want to know anything about the actual changes maybe going on in reshoots, get on out of here, okay? But here we go. So a lot of stuff is being removed from the film. Number one, the Oracle. The Oracle was this alien type creature dealy thing that Kylo Ren was going to interact with in order to get the Wayfinder device. Now apparently he is just going to find the Wayfinder device in some kind of a chest at a castle that's very similar to Vader's castle or something like that. Kylo has a flashback or like a force back vision when he retrieves this thing and apparently hears Palpatine's voice calling to him or whatever. So the Oracle, which I was kind of iffy about, is apparently now gone from the film. Also, all the Luke Skywalker stuff has been changed as well, most notably the beginning of the movie, which was going to be a scene with young Leia and young Luke Skywalker training with lightsabers, which I would have personally loved to see. Yeah, apparently that's out, and instead we're getting establishing shots of Exegol and of the Sith fleet to establish that threat right away, and then there's going to be a voiceover of a lesson that Luke Skywalker is giving to Rey. The scene later on in the film with Luke Skywalker and Rey on Ahch-To after Rey loses all hope and goes there to kind of give up the same way that Luke did, that scene is apparently being reworked as well, but Jedi Paxos is saying that it actually will remain very similar in tone. The tone will be something like Luke Skywalker telling Rey she must face her grandfather just as he had to face Vader, giving her a pep talk, turning her around and giving her Leia's saber as well, and then sending her on her way in probably Luke's old X-Wing. The concept of the dyad, which was going to be an explanation of what Rey and Kylo were together, this super cool cosmic force thing, this powerful thing that they had together where they would be even more powerful together. Apparently that concept is being scrapped completely from the film as it's just too confusing. The apparent new explanation for the power of Kylo and Rey is just attached to their lineage. The fact that Rey is a Palpatine should be enough to explain her powers to the audience, and same is said for Kylo Ren. He's Vader's grandson, you know, Luke's nephew. Yeah, he's definitely powerful. And I gotta be real, that's kind of disappointing. I like this dyad thing. I thought it was a cool thing, maybe even a little hint at the cosmic ramifications of Reylo for some of the Reylo people out there. I just thought it was a cool concept, but yeah, apparently it's being scrapped. Now, apparently the Palpatine stuff is being reworked heavily. It was said before that, of course, Palpatine was going to have this plan to get the dyad together and then siphon off their force power. And apparently that's being altered. And Paxos is claiming that Palps will indeed want Rey to take over the galaxy as his granddaughter and just move forward. And then as sort of a backup plan, he ends up absorbing the power of Rey and Kylo in a very similar, scene that we've been talking about before in the third act of the film. See the previous leaks for the full details. Apparently now, when Kylo meets him on Exegol, he will claim that he did die at the Battle of Endor, and yet here he is, and there's going to be a lot of distrust about him possibly being a clone or something to that effect. But ultimately, I think the big changes here are that Kylo is going to be motivated by the power that he thinks Sidious can give him. This includes the Sith fleet and all these different things like that. There's a lot of mention now that within the First Order, a lot of these people will not trust Palpatine and will not trust the Sith fleet either. So there's some tension there. I think that's kind of interesting. Now, the Force Ghost scene at the end of the film where Leia and Luke were apparently going to show up as Force Ghosts and give power to Rey to revitalize her, that is being completely reworked. And you'll hear the voices of a lot of different Jedi, apparently even Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, speaking, in a sense, giving Rey resolve and power. And it's important to note here that the lessons that Leia is going to be teaching Rey are going to be reworked as well. So now the big focus that Rey's mental training is going to be on is convening with the ancient Jedi, talking to the Jedi that have passed on, and she's not able to do that at the beginning of the film. There's a lot more focus on her anger and frustration, showing that she's a Palpatine. That's all according to the leaks. And then at the end of the film, she'll finally be able to speak to these Jedi again, and they're all gonna just help her out with voices and give her power that way. Other than that, the ending is said to be very similar to what we've heard. Kylo gets whacked and falls into the abyss, never to be seen again. Rey gets revitalized and does end up killing Palpatine, and Palpatine explodes or something like that. Then Rey and the Resistance win the day. She takes the pieces of the Skywalker sabers and combines them together to make her own gold and yellow saber. She goes, buries the remaining parts at the Lars homestead. She's asked randomly by someone who she is, and she says that her name is Rey Skywalker, thereby adopting the Skywalker name, rejecting the Palpatine lineage, and being the Skywalker that rises. So I guess after hearing that, everyone will just talk about how much they hate that as well. I don't know, man. I mean, like, I liked some of the stuff that they're apparently changing. I want to just see what happens at this point. It's very interesting that we got all of these different things. Kind of bummed that Kylo just dies. Like, I don't think that's necessarily that cool, but what are you going to do? I guess that's the Skywalker way. And I gotta be honest, like, I go back and forth between thinking, like, oh, this movie's gonna crush, Star Wars is gonna be fine, to like, oh my goodness, we're really in trouble. I don't know what to believe. I'm excited to see the actual movie, but I am nervous about what will actually show up there, how fans will respond to it, and how much money the movie will make. Like, I'm starting to get just a little nervous. Either way, that's a lot of information. I'm sure you got some thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below. Again, I want to tell you the live stream with Jason Ward is coming tomorrow night. So if you want to ask us about these leaks, show up tomorrow night to the live stream. We can talk to Jason. We can figure out this leak thing together. But yeah, let me know your thoughts about this video and the points I brought up in the comment section below. And now let's check the nerd card. Before we get out of here, I want to know, what is the name of Cal's droid in Jedi Fallen Order? Cal is the main character. He's got a pretty cool new droid. What is the name of that droid? Answer that question in the comment section below. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.